Welcome to Florida Gators Live number 33. Happy Father's Day. Tyler, did you do anything with your parents on this Father's Day?
No, I'm actually out of town right now, so I wasn't able to do anything with my dad. We're gonna have to do a little bit of a makeup on that. But happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and all of y'all listening to this.
Yeah, I went to Longhorn Steakhouse with mine, so that was nice. Ate a lot of steak and took a fat nap afterwards. So I woke up about an hour and a half ago, and I feel like I'm still recovering from that midday nap. It hits you like a ton of bricks.
That sounds like a great way to spend Father's Day, honestly.
I bet. But welcome to the show. You guys saw I had the 3 videos uploaded of our 3 commitments that happened Friday night and Saturday morning. Really interesting that we got those commitments then and not on the Sunday, like how we've seen. I mean, it makes sense for them to happen after the visit, but the 3 players we got, we'll just quickly overview them. Tyler can get his mentions on them as well. Carson Baker took his visit May 16th, and it was like Florida, they made a real impression on him after really not even being seen as a player in his commitment or in his recruitment until that visit. And just a month, not even a month later, less than a month later, ends up committing to the Gators. Really wanted to get that weekend up with like a big boost. I mean, cancel his visits to Ohio State and Clemson. I don't think he's going to be taking a visit to South Carolina next week, but this is a big get for the Gators.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another great running back coming in for, a staff that's developed them really well. I think he's a guy that, like, it really seems like since his visit, Florida's had most of the hype and attention to get him. So this was kind of one that was more of a just like, what took you so long is honestly how this one kind of felt. But I think Florida had a lot of the momentum here. It was nice to see them be able to close.
Yeah. Although there was FSU did have a little bit of momentum from their visit for him, but I think that was just more wordplay.
Yeah.
I don't think he said South Carolina finished second in his recruitment. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like they made a late push, but I mean, he got the projections came in kind of coming after that visit. It doesn't really seem like all that much changed there ultimately over the last, couple weeks.
Maybe a little bit of a troll job on FSU. He said they were neck and neck, and then he ends up saying South Carolina was second. So, hey, I don't hate it hating on FSU.
We've been on the receiving end of it too. So it's happened to us as well. So it goes around, comes around.
That is true. And then maybe one that came as a shock to some people Saturday morning, 4-star wide receiver Marquez Daniels ends up committing at about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember exactly what it was. I remember I woke up and he committed immediately as I woke up. So that was a perfect timing there. But I mean, again, another huge landing for the Gators. You go to Tuskegee, which is about 20 miles from the Auburn campus, and you get a guy to shut down on it's like they start the visits on Friday night, but like Saturday's like that real first day. And he commits on that Friday, on that Saturday morning. So they really had some confidence going into the visit, and they were able to lock that down right away.
Yeah, and he had visited Auburn the prior weekend, so fresh off that visit. I mean, I think, I'm not the first person to say this. Obviously, it's been a pretty common take, but I mean, Billy Gonzalez's recruiting right now is at another level. I mean, I think it's hard to believe because we've had him here in kind of a couple different stints. I'm not sure he's ever shown it quite to this degree, but he's kind of quickly becoming one of the better recruiting receivers coaches in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not calling him Brian Hartline, but
yeah,
he's doing.
I mean,
he's
he's not at that level, but I mean, he's maybe a level below at this point. When you look at what Florida's taken in just in the last 2 cycles.
Yeah, I think something about Billy Gonzalez is it's just how the programs run when he's here. I mean, you go look at when he's here under Urban Meyer. I mean, he has an elite recruiting coach with him, and he's getting Percy Harvins. I mean, we had a bunch of really good receivers back then and everything. So it's like, the Riley Coopers and so on. So it's like, obviously you're going to have some help when your coach can also recruit. And then you look when Gail Mullen's here, you really see recruiting take a dive at that wide receiver position. I mean, remember when you got Napier to come here, that receiving room was just absolutely terrible. Even in year 2, it's like you had Trey Wilson and Ricky Pearsall. But after those two, I mean, K-Jack's a solid receiver, but he was also a walk-on, so it's not even like you recruited him to come here. But now you're starting to get all these 4 stars, highly ranked 4 stars as well, and 5-star guys. That's really starting to impress. But no, you go and get someone 20 minutes, 20 miles from that Auburn. I mean, there's another recruit we're competing with for Auburn that I'll talk about later. I mean, Billy might be putting Hugh Freeze in the blender. I don't know what's going on there, but you love to see it. And then around 11:30 noonish on Saturday as well, the one we've been waiting for, the big one, Jaraylon McCoy ends up committing to the Gators. 4-star defensive end, edge rusher. I think he's more of a defensive end here. Play that F position. Commits. This was one we've been waiting for. Going into our visit on May 30th, everyone knew Florida was the leader. And it's like he had that commitment date set for June 1st, but there was some talk that Florida might be able to get him to shut it down after the visit. And then after the visit, there was still all that great talk about it, but he doesn't commit. He has that Texas visit. And when you're visiting Texas, it's always scary because Texas has all the money they need. They have a great coaching staff. They play winning football, so it's always scary. And then he moves it back, and it's like, okay, that gives you more time to shut it down. But he's now also visiting with Vodney Cleveland, who is a pretty good friend of his. So it's like, win-win, lose-lose, who knows? But then you get McCoy to end up canceling that visit, come here, and just commit Saturday morning. It's great stuff for us.
Yeah, ultimately, just such a good get for the staff. Beating out Ole Miss for Mississippi kid, obviously beating out the late interest from Texas, becomes the highest rated commit in the class. A guy who's, I think, a 5-star on ESPN, right?
Yeah, number 9 player on ESPN.
Yeah, number 9. So, definitely, I mean, a guy that at least one side views as an elite player. We'll see if he has the opportunity to rise and maybe climb inside that top 100, if not further. But I mean, kind of the premier recruit of the class at this point, and just a huge get. I think this is kind of part of the reason that I don't think either of us were really panicking like a couple months ago when things weren't looking incredible for the recruiting class, because we knew the guys they were in the mix for, and we knew it would only take getting a few of them to kind of turn the tide. And this is one of those, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's someone that has a sky high potential. And if he has a productive season, because last season, his junior year, only had like 1.5 sacks. If he can have like a highly productive season, like how LJ McCray did his senior year, it's hard for someone to go from the hundreds to 5-star like McCray did. But I could easily see McCoy end up being in that top 50 area. So I think this is a really good get, and it could really age well. I mean, there's a reason Texas really did want him, so. Big time.
Yeah, I mean, again, a recurring theme. Like so many of these guys, it wouldn't be surprising to see them climb 50 to 100 spots by signing day. So many of the guys that Florida's taken so far.
Absolutely. But all right, it's time to get into the show, what we're going to do here. So we decided to start off this show. We're going to do 2025 hypotheticals. So we're going to give like some stat lines, some predictions, not necessarily predictions, but like if this happens, how does it affect the team around it? So, like, our example that we'll start off here with, DJ Lagway. What if DJ Lagway throws for 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns? I mean, I think that's a bit ridiculous. Like, I don't think he's going to throw for that. I mean, if he's throwing for that, again, what do we think could happen? I mean, we're probably talking about being easily a playoff team.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if we weren't at that point unless the defense just collapsed. Is that enough to get to New York? So
very possible.
His rushing numbers as well are going to be really high, probably. And if again, we said we're probably against the playoffs if he's throwing for those numbers. So you're winning a lot of primetime games. You have good numbers. Say he also has like 400-500 rushing yards. Then I think you're definitely looking at Lagway in New York and us as one of the premier teams in college football. But so how we're going to do this, we each have came up with our own. I have a negative on offense. He has a positive. I have a positive on defense. He has a negative. We'll start off with a positive on offense.
Yeah. So looking at this offense, like I think we've both talked about it a ton. We're really high on the running game. And Absolutely. So and I think, we're talking about, we kind of wanted to go for the extremes with these, but I don't think this is kind of a twofold thing. And I don't think this first part's that extreme, but what if Florida has the leading rushing offense in the SEC? Do you think that's like an absurd, given the way Billy wants to play, given the offensive line, given the depth at the running back spot? They were kind of middle of the road last year, but it felt like the rushing game like really came on kind of in the back half of the year to me.
Yeah, I mean, we were the only team to have a rusher go for over 100 yards against Ole Miss, like maybe the best defensive line in college football. I don't think it's absurd. I think you look at who else is going to be contending for that. My immediate thought goes to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Because I don't really trust Marcel Reed through the air, but we know how much of a dual threat QB he is. Like, he's definitely a tier above Lagway when it comes to their running ability. So I don't think it's crazy because, like, what if, I mean, I don't want to project injuries on a player, but like if Reed gets hurt and Texas A&M has to go to Jacob Zeno, their backup, like Zeno is not a mobile threat. Like Lagway is a way better mobile threat than a Zeno would be. And if teams are in the box and trying to have Zeno beat them, that's definitely going to hurt their run game. But I think it'll be really fun to see us lead the country in rushing because I mean we have such fun and explosive running backs.
By the way. I was just saying.
Oh, yeah, the SEC. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. The SEC. So, I mean, what are Lagway's numbers in this? Like, is Lagway just not able to throw the ball? Or
so that was the second half of this. So I was thinking about because I think that alone would be really nice, but I don't think that's really any guarantee of this being like an elite offense. They could have a lot of problems even if it's that effective of a rushing game. So where I went with this, because I think like a 4,000-yard, 35 touchdown season for Lagway is probably not that likely, especially if the running game is that good. But what I went with is what if that happens? You have the leading rushing attack in the SEC, and what if Lagway averages 10 yards per attempt? That's what he finished last season averaging, right at 10 yards an attempt. And it wasn't, was it skewed by the Samford game? Like, I'm sure, but he still finished with a pretty decent sample size, throwing almost 200 passing attempts. Only one qualifying passer in the SEC had more than 10, I believe, last year. It was Jackson Dart. So I guess I'm not even saying what if the passing offense is incredibly prolific, but what if you balance an elite running game with a passing offense that is both explosive and efficient?
Absolutely. So I think the only really place I can go with the negative for the offense, because I mean, I feel like at worst, this offensive line is going to be good. I mean, it's just too experienced. Like, unless we're including injuries, which I'm just not going to do here, then you can say, oh, what if Jake Slaughter gets injured? Or what if Barber gets injured? So I'm just not going to do that. So I think the only real place I can go here is that wide receiver room. What if that wide receiver room just can't develop? I mean, J. Michael Sturdivant, like he had 800 yards in that one season at Cal, but then at UCLA has 300 yards last season, 400 yards. Can't remember off the top of my head. So what if he just was underwhelming at UCLA? Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, well, Trey, maybe he's not able to pick up steam from his injury last year. Maybe he's just a gimmick of the offense. Like we've seen a lot of him in the first 2 years. And then, hey, Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown, they just aren't ready yet. It's like, what if the receiving room just isn't ready? Like it's talented, but they aren't ready to take that step right away. I think that's the best spot you can go here for a negative.
Yeah, that's a really good one because I think we're pretty high on the receiver room. But yeah, I think there is a lot of projection going on. There's a lot of projection in that Sturdivant is going to be more like the player he was earlier in his career than the one he kind of was in 2024. And, I think that like if he is not at that level, and then all of a sudden you're putting a lot on, like you said, Dallas Wilson and Vernell Brown. And I don't think it's fair to necessarily expect, even though we both kind of think Dallas Wilson's going to have an impactful freshman season, you can't put that on him. And then all of a sudden you've got like kind of a gadget player in Trey Wilson and, a serviceable, but not really overwhelming talent in Khalil Jackson. So like at that point, yeah, I think that is a big question for the passing game. And I mean, that would be really frustrating if you have this Heisman level talent in DJ Lagway, but the passing game never really manifests because you just don't have the consistency and the guys at receiver, frankly.
Yeah. So yesterday someone asked me, what are my yard projections for a receiving room? And I got something that would probably be on the higher end of like of good, like not Lagway throwing 4,000 yards. So it would be under that. But like I had J. Michael Stewart about 800 yards, which is more than what Badger and DK went for. They were in the 700s. I had Trey going for 750, but I also include Trey getting a couple hundred yards on the grounds on like sweeps and stuff. Dallas Wilson going for like 500, Ada Mizell 450, and Vernell Brown the third going for like 300. Like, what if you just split those? Like JMS is at like 500, and Trey, is down to like 400, and Dallas is at 300, and Mizell is like 200. Vernell Brown's like 100. Like, if you're splitting those like nearly in half, which is a possible outcome, it really would affect the room.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because like I don't know if like I think like 300 for Vernell Brown in that scenario, like on top of what you said for the other guys, like that might be a lot to ask. Like I don't know if we're gonna spread the ball out that much. Maybe we will, but I think
we have I was gonna say is cupcake games to where I could see him in week 1 and week 2. He could easily have a couple big plays in week 1 or week 2,
maybe
that give him 100 yards or so, and then. You're going to have the games against Mississippi State and Kentucky where he could combine for like 100 yards in those games. And then again, it's like, I don't think that's too crazy.
That's fair. But, and all I was going to say is I think that kind of still strengthens your overall point that like, as much as we like these young guys, the whole kind of plan at receiver hinges on the fact that Sturdivant can be, if not your leading receiver, like a DK type reliable target, like guy you can go to on critical downs.
All right. I guess we'll go to your defensive negative.
Yeah. So I know you said you didn't want to do injuries for the offense, and I understand that. But to be honest with you, like I'm pretty high on this defense. Like I think even when we kind of hone in on the area where we don't feel great, the other defensive tackle spot opposite Caleb Banks, like I still think that could be a kind of deficient area, and I don't think it would cripple the defense. So it doesn't really concern me to a major extent. But where I'm at here is what would happen if, and I'm not going to even say specifically a player or a specific position, but just say Florida suffers one significant injury along the offensive line and one along the secondary. And by significant injury, I'll say out for more than a month. Like, do you think that's something that the defense can survive?
You said one on the defensive line and one in the secondary, right?
One in the secondary, yeah. And it could be a safety, could be a corner, could be an F, could be a D tackle. Like, it just given, like, I guess it's kind of interesting to me. I'm curious, like, where you think even among those groups, it would be more devastating.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like Caleb Banks, then you're probably, I don't think they're going to survive well because you're already very limited on the interior of that defensive line. Yeah. You're having to play one of the two freshmen in a lot of minutes, or you're moving Cameron James over the defensive tackle from F. I mean, maybe Brandon Bett is better than we expect him to be, but like he's not going to be Caleb Banks for sure. You're going to lose that high upside on that front seven that really allows your defensive backs to maybe be a weakness. Because if you're getting pressure, your corners and safeties aren't going to have to cover as long. I mean, if it's a loss in the safe, if it's a loss in that defensive back room, I mean, Devin Moore's probably going to get hurt at some point. Like, it feels. I mean, it's more of a when that I don't want it to be an when, but more, I want it to be an if. But like, if we're being real here, I'm trying to figure out what he's saying here. Due to an undisclosed reason,
I know what he's saying. Yeah,
for your hypothetical, okay. Well, I mean, if it's like that first month of the year, I think against LSU, I don't think LSU is going to be too good in the front seven. I guess it kind of depends when. Like, if it's in that the last like month of the season, when you're playing Ole Miss, who not going to be the best offensive line in the country, and then Tennessee, you're probably more talented, and you're more talented than to still beat them, and you're probably going to be FSU. Maybe then, but if it happens early on, it just depends who it is, I guess. If it's Banks, I think you're probably toast unless it's like that last couple of games.
Yeah. I think in the secondary, I'm not sure there's like a single player in the secondary that I'm like, if that guy's gone, it's game over in the same way like it is with Caleb Banks, because he just is so disruptive for a guy who plays on the interior. Just a real,
you also have more talent, I think, as backups. I mean, if Moore gets hurt, say it's Dijon and Devin Moore starting, then you're probably promoting like Cormani, who's a former 5-star, or you're promoting Jameer Grimesley, who was a pretty high 4-star, or you're promoting the freshman Ben Hanks, who was close to a 5-star. So I think if it's a corner, and even the safeties, the big thing, if like safety gets injured, you only have like 5 safeties, and you probably want one of them to you probably only have like 4 safeties with the 2 freshmen and Thornton and Castell. Maybe Josiah Davis is a safety. Maybe you have one of your corners or a nickel who can move, because they do like positional flexibility. But like, I don't think anyone is good enough in the secondary besides maybe Devin Moore to be like a major downgrade.
Yeah. Well, and the main reason I posed this hypothetical was just to kind of analyze the depth in the secondary or on defense, because I feel pretty good about the starting 11 on defense. Like even with questions about a couple like positions here and there, I think overall it's pretty strong. But obviously I think like, I guess my takeaway would be like, I agree. I think there's probably more talent backing up in the secondary. I think maybe there's a little bit more experience along the defensive line in terms of depth, but that doesn't necessarily mean as high level talent. And I'll just say I excluded the linebacker group from this hypothetical because I think the linebacker group is the one area that like probably could sustain a serious injury and be all right. I think there's enough depth there that you probably could make it work.
I think the interesting thing about the linebacker group is you have a position battle. Like the corners might be a position battle between like Dijon, Cormani, Grimesley, Ben Hanks. But the linebacker position, it's like those are unproven guys. But the linebacker position, I'm pretty confident Pup Howard starting. Within that second linebacker, is it going to be Jaden Robinson, who's played a good bit over his first 2 seasons? Or is it the more talented Miles Graham, who hasn't played as much, but he showed a lot of flashes last year. He's high athleticism. So I think if someone's getting injured, it's like, oh, you're getting a guy who you probably would have been okay with starting anyways. I mean, I'm thinking it's going to be Miles Graham who starts, but if you're putting Jaden Robinson in there, it's like he was 5th on the team in tackles last year. Like, this isn't no bad linebacker. It's funny, Jaden Robinson, if you're putting Jaden Robinson next to Ventrell Miller back when the defense was really, really bad, you're probably improving that linebacker room tenfold. Like, I mean, it would have been a lot better. So, yeah, I think the linebacker room can withstand an injury. I mean, when you're getting past, if you're getting past 1 injury, that's just unlucky. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that's why I kept it to 1, because beyond that, like 1 injury, like in a position group, like can happen. If not, it like is gonna happen over the course of a season. Obviously, if you just get the crazy injury bug, there's nothing you can do about that. But I think part of roster building is being able to sustain a major injury within a position group.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll go to my positive hypothetical. I think this is a real interesting one. We've talked about this player maybe more than any other player on the defense since we started doing these shows, going back to our post-game shows. What if Jordan Castell is like an all SEC safety? And I mean, it sounds crazy with how much we've dissed him, but he's a 2-year veteran, starting veteran. If you remember last year, he didn't play much of the fall camp because he had a really bad shoulder injury. So he was playing like the first half of the season with that shoulder injury. I mean, you go back to his freshman year where early on, before he like started getting roughed up by SEC play, he played like a all freshman SEC safety his like first 3 games of the season. And then you get to that Kentucky game and past that where, you know, he just got too physical for him. And then last year has that injury early on, is getting beat by DBs. His tackling maybe isn't the best. But then, like, at the end of the year in the Ole Miss game, the LSU game, and Tulane and FSU, he started playing better. I mean, especially the Tulane game. He played fantastic against Tulane. I mean, now Ty Thompson, not a really good QB at all, but he was playing better, more physical. So what if Castell, former 4-star, has the 6'3" height, has good speed on him, he has the intangibles to be a NFL safety. So what if he takes that jump? What if he's healthy? And now you're talking about, okay, you have Devin Moore at corner, who we know when he's playing is a potential one of the best corners in the country. And then you have Jordan Castell in the at safety, who again maybe is an all SEC player. You're probably feeling a lot better about this DB unit than if Castell was just an average starter. And I mean, you're still worrying about the Devin Moore injury, and Thornton is solid but not great. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, we've given Castell a lot of grief, but like if he's an all SEC caliber player, I mean, to me, like I don't think I'm being hyperbolic in saying that could take the defense from like good to great. Because like again, as much as we focused on like the other defensive tackle spot, and like I think like the safety group, the fact that you don't feel great, I think about either safety spot is a little bit concerning to me. But if you're putting an all SEC player at the back end of that secondary, like all of a sudden this defensive unit, like really does not have any glaring holes.
No.
And I think that would help obviously withstand like, because, you know, if you're not getting great safety play and all of a sudden you do have to deal with like a Devin Moore injury, all of a sudden the secondary becomes like a serious concern. But if you've got, you know, an elite Jordan Castell back there, I think that changes that dynamic quite a bit. So that to me would be like, that would be as huge as like, you know, Jamari Lyons becoming like a Cam Jackson level player. Like that would be as impactful to me, honestly.
I mean, yeah, it absolutely would. I just had something I was going to say, but I just completely lost it about Castell.
Did it have anything to do with how mean we've been to him on a regular basis?
I messaged, it's funny, guys. I messaged him last week or earlier this week about Castell because apparently he's been playing pretty well in spring practice, or he's been looking good in OTAs and played well in spring practice. So I said it would be so funny if he took a major step and ended up being a really good safety. How much we would have to like bite our tongues from last year, but that would be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to see it because ultimately, if you're not getting good safety play from him and Thornton, like you're kind of looking at like, you know, maybe Caraway can play safety, or like you're looking at true freshmen at that point. Like it's not a ton of depth in that area. So,
yep. Hey, did you see the Magic trade from earlier today?
Yeah, I'm not a big NBA guy, so I don't know how good of a player Desmond Bane is. I don't know how ridiculous or not ridiculous that trade is. What's your take as a Magic guy?
People are looking at, like, we're trading away 4 first-round picks, which is a lot. 3 of them, I mean, are our picks, which we're in, like, a win-now type of mode. So if you're this GM, you're thinking, okay, those are going to be late first-round picks, which how often do those late, like, 25 and on picks end up being successes? So I don't really think it's as big of a issue as many think, because, I mean, you're also getting rid of that crazy high Contavious Caldwell-Pope contract for him to come and put up 5 points per game in the playoffs. And Cole Anthony, guy, like, people love him around here, but he also only averaged like 2 points per game in the playoffs. It's just, you hate to see him go because he was like really good his first 2 years here, but now it's just kind of a bench piece. Desmond Bane this past season averaged 19 points per game on 39% 3-point shooting, while also playing really good defense. So now you're putting him next to Jalen Suggs, who is also one of the best defensive guards in the NBA. So your guard tandem with those two is going to be fantastic. I mean, you have Franz at the wing, who's also a really good defender. I like it because you're getting things you need. You need someone who can ISO the ball as a guard, because Suggs doesn't really do that much. And you're getting someone who can spot up shoot. He shot like 50% from catch and shoot threes, which is really good. I mean, going from Contavious Caldwell-Pope, who shot 34%, which he had like a really good final month of the season where he shot like 50% to really boost that percentage until the playoffs where he sucked. But if you're getting Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies, right? That's where he played for Memphis, right?
Yeah.
Then I think you're getting a piece that if Paulo can take that next step, and I mean, Franz can improve his shooting form. I mean, Paulo averaged like 25.5 points per game this year. He had a sluggish start to the he came back from an injury, had a sluggish start, but then had 10 straight games of over 30 points. And it was like, if you take away that like one bad like February he averaged like 30 points per game. And it was like coming back from injury. Like, if he can do that, if he can have that for a whole season, and Franz, he also suffered an injury and he had this weird like little hitch in his shot that he hadn't had before and went from like a 30 plus 3-point percent shooter to like 20, which you're hoping he improves over the offseason. I mean, the Magic are real contenders in the East, I think.
Okay. I mean, I'm not a Magic fan, but I like to see the Magic be decent. It'd be cool to see them be kind of back more relevant in the Eastern Conference race.
Yep. All right, let me do this real quick. Check out the Voice of College Football website today at VOCFB.com. They actually have a little insert right here about our show, describing what we went over from the past week and everything. It shows you where you can find us. You can also find us on any of your favorite streaming services like Spotify, here on YouTube, Apple Music, and Amazon, I believe it is. So you can check us out anywhere if you're on the car, if you like listening while you're in the car or going to sleep, check us out there. You can also find our website, have a bunch of different articles coming out. They're even reviewing our shows now. I saw Mark Rogers had a big show on June 12th that they recapped there. So if you can't make it live and you don't have a lot of time to look at it or to listen to the shows, you can still get quick recaps here, which I think is really cool. All right. Oh, man. Okay. Here we go. Let's get into this. We talked about it earlier here. Florida got 3 commitments Friday night and Saturday morning. Big time gets our three highest ranked recruits, I believe, in this class now. So that's how big time of a commit they are. But there was a lot more happening this weekend on the recruiting trail. Our last weekend of official visits for the summer, I don't know if I assume they're probably going to have a couple of kids come on before a signing day. They don't usually host official visits during the season, but they might host 1 or 2 of them if for like a big time prospect that they really want to land. So, but we're going to go down, break down some of the recruits that did come on campus, starting with 5-star tight end Caden Prothero out of Bowdoin, Georgia, on 3 industry ranking. That was the 30th ranked player. This would be the highest ranked tight end we've got since Aaron Hernandez, I believe.
Gotta be. I mean, I don't know who else it would be.
I mean, yeah, because you think Pitts, but he was only ranked in the 200s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Pitts was not like an absurd. He was like a blue chip. He's a 4-star, but he was
like 202, I think.
Also played in Philly, so he was probably a little bit under scouted, being from the Northeast.
That's a good point. I mean, Kyle Pitts on 247 in his composite, I believe he was the early 200s. I mean, 247 had him at 122. He was 162 composite. So, that's still a really good prospect right there. But, not compared to Caden Prothero coming out of high school. So, he named Georgia is still his leader, but he said Florida's second. He plans to commit early July. I find it really hard to beat Georgia here for him. So, it would be really great to add him because that tight end room doesn't look that great now. And you look at the other targets on the board, they're not really fantastic. But I think if you find a way to land Prothero, he's probably going to be a day 1 impact player because they see him playing at that tight end / wide receiver role. He can play outside. He can play on the line. So it'll be a big time get, but with Georgia and their tight end production and recruiting, I find it really difficult, even if he has a second right now.
Yeah, for the in-state guy too. I think it we've talked ad nauseum about how much kind of tight ends the position on offense that's lacking. And I mean, how awesome would it be to get a game-changing guy like this? But I kind of agree, especially with the other targets Florida has at tight end. Kind of seems like this has just been we'll see if we can do it, but we're going to have backup plans. And they'll probably need him. I don't really have a ton else to add about him. I just got to say, it's insane that he is a 5-star tight end and he's the 3rd ranked tight end in the class. There's 3 5-star tight ends in this class. So talk about
I know Mark Bowman who
evolution of the game.
Because I know Mark Bowman was number 1.
Kendra Harrison, the Oregon commit, is number 20 overall now.
Wow, he must have took a big jump recently.
And I'm looking at the composite. I'm looking at the 247.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. Wow. I mean, Mark Bowman also, I think he was 19th a month ago. So they must have got some nice month from rivals, I believe. He did a recent update. So, I mean, good for them. Next, we'll look at 4-star athlete / wide receiver Davion Gross from Frisco, Texas. Plays Frisco, Texas. 37th ranked player in this class. So you look at his top schools. It's Baylor, Oklahoma, Houston, and Florida now. So Oklahoma, obviously a big-time program. But then Baylor and Houston, I mean, they're Power 5 schools, but it's like they're not on the level of Oklahoma and Florida. It's a very interesting recruitment. It seemed pretty quiet. Like, I heard he really enjoyed it, and it was his first time here at UF. He's another one that plans to commit like early July-ish area. Also, what I heard, the staff really likes Gross as an athlete. Like, they think he's one of the best athletes in the entire class, and he could be a running back. They like him at receiver, but he's just that type of player that if he wants to be a running back, you got to take him as a running back. But 6'1", 190. I really don't know yet. It's going to be tough until he takes all of his official visits. Maybe some more smoke comes. I don't think we get him, but I also just don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Baker having already joined the class, like you do wonder a little bit. But I mean, obviously, I think Florida would still take him if he wanted to come.
Yeah,
and I mean, like, I was curious what you thought about that because I mean, it kind of seems like he plays almost equivalent between the backfield and out wide in high school. So definitely a guy that can contribute in a few ways. I mean, this would be huge. It's kind of hard to imagine Florida wins this one just with them coming on a little late for him and just all the other Texas or in terms of Oklahoma, a regional school in the mix there. But I mean, I guess we'll just have to see how impactful this visit ended up being.
One thing that intrigues me is the fact that Texas never got into this. I mean, the 4th-ranked player in the state of Texas and all of the schools that was on his list are from, I mean, Oklahoma's in Oklahoma, obviously, but like Baylor, Houston, Texas A&M is even listed on there, like, are Texas schools. And then you have Florida there. Like, is really interesting for what his thought process, or maybe Texas. I honestly just don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't go after a guy like this special who's like that highly rated by the by the services and in Frisco. Like, hard to believe, but
all right. Next, the 54th ranked player, former Gator commit linebacker Isaiah Williams out of Tavares near Leesburg. So this is a real interesting recruitment here. It's not Ole Miss is his 5th commitment. I mean, still, Steve Wiltfong even said it. He thinks Isaiah Williams is probably going to end up flipping one more time, at least by the time he signs. I mean, it was a good recruitment. I mean, this staff always knocks those official visits out of the park, it seems like. But I think this is an interesting thing of whether, if he wanted to flip again, would you allow it? Like, because it feels like he's gonna flip again, and it's like,
yeah.
Now, I have the personal thought that by signing day, if Billy Napier wants to take him, I think he'll be someone who's in this class. I mean, he's like an hour and a half away from Gainesville, right in our backyard from the 352. I think he's a really, arguably the best linebacker prospect in this class. 3rd-ranked linebacker on 247's composite. On 3 has him as the #1 linebacker, like a top 15 player. So it's like, he's such a good talent. If he wants in, you kind of have to take him. But it's like, would you take him right now? Because it might just make more headaches going to signing day.
Yeah, you might just be like, if you want to do it, just do it on signing day. But even then, it's not like signing day locks you in really anymore. So yeah, it's not like he's even set to come for sure. I mean, yeah, this one, like, I'll be real. Like, I mean, he's a really talented player. And like, yeah, he's probably the exception here where even though you have your red flags, you probably take the risk if he wants to commit to you just because he's that level of player. But I kind of have no expectation here. Like, I just am not, I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it. I think, we'll just see how it plays out. But I mean, like you said, the guy's on his 5th commitment. So, he's doing his own thing, no ill will toward him, but it's hard to, follow where the wind's blowing in each direction on this one, just because he's been all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, he's a 16-year-old he's a 16-year-old kid. I'm not gonna
totally
wish or hate on him at all, but like,
no, of course not.
The thought process behind this is just really, really interesting for him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next we're going to talk about 4-star defensive lineman out of Northwestern Miami, James Johnson, the 69th ranked prospect. He said, so he's actually visited Florida more than anybody, but this is his first time visiting in 2025. So back in 2024, he got on campus a lot. And it seemed like Florida might be the team to beat for him until the new year. And now it seems like he said Florida made a big jump on his recruitment. I don't really see it right now, but I think it's going to be more of a Miami-Georgia battle. He left immediately to go take an official visit at FSU, so he didn't really have any comments. So we don't, outside of the fact that he said to like Wiltfong or somebody that like it was a really good visit, which again, we knock all the visits out of the park, but don't really know exactly what's going on there. I just don't think it's going to be us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like particular insight to offer here, but it just seems like this is one where Florida is kind of behind the 8 ball here. And with some of the other guys they're going after, I'm not sure they closed it or like bend over backwards trying to close that gap, you know?
Yep. Absolutely. All right, next, this is a bit interesting, a fun name to talk about here. Trenton Henderson, 4-star edge out of Pensacola, Florida, 6'4", 225 pounds, the 82nd ranked prospect on the composite. But interesting thing here, 247 has him as a 5-star. And you look at, here, let me pull it up here to get the exact numbers on this. On3 has him as a 77th ranked player, 247, 28, ESPN 60. Rivals has him unranked. He's a 4-star, but they have him as an unranked 4-star. So he's someone that a bump from Rivals, and he's someone that we're talking about as a potential 5-star player there. From Pensacola, something I think is really interesting. He tweeted like, "Should I stay home?" and like his Gator picture and everything. He's probably closer to like 7 other SEC schools than he is to Florida, because Pensacola is like on the tip of the panhandle. He's probably closer to Baton Rouge, who is seen as like the team in second place. He's obviously closer to FSU. Probably
Auburn.
closer to the 2 Bama schools. He's closer to the 2 Mississippi schools. Like, it's kind of funny that like should I stay home because he technically is from Florida, but all the way in Pensacola, like the Panhandle is a lot larger than it looks on a map. So but outside of that, he named Florida his leader. After he took a visit to LSU last week, he said LSU and Florida were his top 2. And he said he plans to commit around in November. Well, after his visit to Florida, he named Florida his clear leader and also said he plans to commit whenever it feels right. So going from November to whenever it feels right, I think Florida is looking really good here. He's supposed to take a visit to Texas this weekend, next weekend, I guess. We'll see if he takes that. We'll see if he ends up committing within the week. I don't know if he does or doesn't, but he's someone I feel really, really good about right now. And it's kind of wild because 2 weeks ago, I would have thought we probably weren't really in his top 3.
So, 247 shows that he's supposed to officially visit USC next weekend.
He changed that in Texas.
Oh, they just haven't updated that. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, obviously a star-studded kind of list of finalists for him. A lot of teams in the mix. I mean, we'll see. Like, I'm not sure he was really on our radar a ton. But I mean, obviously it made a pretty strong impression. I mean, if he ends up ultimately waiting till November, a lot can happen. But you know, if Florida's making a strong impression and he's reevaluating the extended kind of wait to make a commitment, you know, I think Florida's in a pretty good spot. I mean, they clearly have the momentum here. It would be a huge gap between him and Draylen McCoy for that kind of the defensive line and edge class. Those would be 2 really nice headliners if you could close this out.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, we're going to talk about 4-star defensive lineman out of Fort Myers, Florida, Kendall Gerville, 146 in the composite. So this is one that's probably going to keep going until signing day. I mean, maybe he commits before then, but like it's going to be one that's going for a while. He named Texas his leader, but he still is really, really close between Florida, Georgia, and Texas. this is one that could be decided during the season. I mean, I think it will be decided during the season. He's going to take visits. He's going to make it to games. Probably is going to make it to that Florida-Texas game. So hopefully that we could win that game and sway him a little bit. But it's someone that, I mean, we're right there in it for. It's like, I wouldn't put a prediction yet. If I had to, I'd probably say Texas. But it's one I think Florida could definitely win.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal that he's named Texas' leader, and from what I'm looking at, is set to visit them officially next weekend.
Yep.
But so that's not great. But the fact that it seems not like imminently committing means that, obviously Florida still has time. Maybe you can get him on campus for that game in the season, like you said. I mean, we'll see. I think, you got to like that he's a Fort Myers kid and you can kind of flex the in-state thing. But it does seem like there is some ground that needs to be made up here if Florida's going to do that.
I could also see it. You look at the top school. Maybe he's like, he wants to go to Florida, but he wants to win a lot of football games. Yeah. And if he sees like Florida still only winning, if we only win 8 games and, Texas and Georgia are probably going to the playoffs, it's like, I love Florida, but I want to win a championship, and you're probably not doing that if we aren't having success this season. So maybe it's one of those. I don't really know there, but I wouldn't count us out of it. But it's going to be a tough battle with Texas and Georgia for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we're going to talk about 4-star offensive tackle out of Mount Carmel, Chicago, Illinois, Claude Impuma. So an interesting thing about Impuma, he's only played 1 season of football. He's from Cameroon. He's ranked 169th in the country, 6'7", 308. I heard he's closer to 6'6", but he's still a massive guy who's going to play tackle. He named Auburn his leader after his visit to Auburn last week. But coming off the Florida visit, he names Florida his leader. He has 1 official visit left to Nebraska, so that's an interesting one there. But, I mean, he named you his leader. He only has Nebraska left. If it's only Nebraska and then he commits, obviously Auburn can still talk to him on the phone. Maybe some other team can still get in it. But if he commits late June, early July, I think you got to feel pretty good. And this will be your this will be your first highest ranked player you've gotten out of high school, or second highest ranked player behind Roderick Kearney you got out of high school. Although Jason Zandamela spent a spring at USC and then transferred, so he basically was a freshman. He was a freshman for you last year, but was part of the transfer class technically. But I think this would be a big time get. You jump up this high, being only playing 1 season of college football. I mean, with another year, he could be someone that jumps up he could jump up the rankings a lot more even. Although I think this is someone that could also get a lot more attention later on in the cycle. So I think this is someone we're going to have to keep fighting for even after we land him. And not just from Auburn, but I wouldn't be surprised if you see Ohio State's, Alabama, Texas, Georgia, start getting in this recruitment later down the road.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. A guy you just opportunity to put, more stuff on tape, get more attention. I mean, I will say, Florida's offensive line recruiting recently, a lot of project guys. He would still be a project guy in his own way, right? Because he doesn't really have the experience. Obviously, a guy that you're probably not going to ask to play in the SEC a ton on day one. But I do think he brings you a talent ceiling that Florida, like you said, in terms of his recruiting rating, would be just where he sits right now would be one of the highest in recent memory. So, I think that would be kind of a high end level addition in terms of potential that Florida hasn't really had along the offensive line in a while. But I think you kind of nailed it. He could commit this summer, and I don't think that means that the battle's won by any means. So, we'll kind of just have to see how this one plays out, but it's nice to see that, Florida's potentially the favorite right now to land a top 200 offensive tackle. Love to see that.
Yep. We talked about Marquez Daniels plenty earlier on, and I talked about him in a separate video. If you want to hear more about that, go listen to the beginning of the show or to the video I posted on there. But it was a nice get. Next, we're going to talk about 4-star linebacker Malik Morris, 6'1", 225 pounds, the 202nd ranked player in the country. Something interesting about Morris, he's recovering from an injury he suffered at the end of last season. So he's ranked 202nd right now. So he's right there to be a top 200 player. I think he's someone that could easily finish in the top, inside the top like 160. I think he's a really good linebacker. He named us his leader. He's supposed to visit Missouri next week, I think. The 247 is not listed. I believe he's supposed to visit Missouri.
They don't have anything scheduled. Okay.
Let me check on 3. Malik Morris. Oh, wrong player. Whoops. Because I believe the former FSU or Miami linebacker coach went to Missouri, and he had a really good relationship with him. Yeah, he's supposed to visit Missouri and Colorado this week, so I don't really consider those teams as much of a threat. Texas A&M is seen as a larger threat, but I think we're going to end up landing Malik Morris, and he also has a planned commitment end of June, early July. I think this is another really good linebacker as they continue to get some pretty good linebackers to come to Florida.
Yeah, just the linebacker recruiting has been really, really nice the last few years. And a Lakeland kid, which Lakeland's kind of turned into a pretty nice pipeline for the Gators. Got a lot of good players from there in the last few years. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is one, like, I mean, anything can happen, but it definitely seems like Florida holds all the cards here.
Yep. Next, 4-star Gator commit, our QB out of Jesuit, Will Griffin. He's 6'3", 230, the number 216th ranked player. I've heard a lot about his improvement since last season to the spring. He's about to go to the Elite 11 camp, which the biggest camp for like any recruit, especially, I mean, he's a QB who are the ones who compete there. But if he's going to end up jumping up boards, it's probably going to be because of his Elite 11. I mean, I hope he does. Obviously, he's our QB commit. So we'll see it. It's Elite 11, I believe, is next week, like the 23rd or something. So we'll see it soon. He made us out of like a recruiting lunch or dinner. He went in front of everybody, you know, some of them, don't be afraid to commit to Florida. We're trying to win here. So I think that was really cool from him.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about that once we kind of see what he looks like at the Elite 11. But I think, a nice recruit. I think, especially considering, you're looking at him. He's not, I mean, obviously, if things go to plan, he's not going to have to start as a freshman because DJ Lagway will still be here. And then you would kind of look after a redshirt year, you go and maybe he's competing against Tramel Jones or whatever. But I think Florida continuing to develop its quarterback depth pretty nicely for the future. I think, he's a guy like you said. Could you see him climb up, maybe push into like more closer to the top 150 or even higher? Like, I think that definitely could happen, but probably, like you said, probably going to have to be a strong showing at the the Elite 11, if that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think not a ton to say here about him. Honestly, his recruiting's been very sleepy. I mean, he committed a year ago, almost. And he's been more than a year, just over a year ago. And I think this is the first, from what I can tell, the first visit he's taken, the first anything. Like, I think he's been
he was at a lot of our games last year.
Yeah, he's been very locked in. I don't think there's any worries about this one wavering. I think you just kind of solidified that this weekend. He
was supposed to come and visit us more often for the other OVs and take some unofficials, but he ended up going on vacation to like the Bahamas. So it kind of halted him right there. I can't really blame him. But, like, I mean, it's nice to see him show some leadership here on this visit, telling everyone to commit. Next, 4-star tight end, the 265th ranked player, Tennessee commit Carson Snead out of Donaldson Christian Academy in Nashville. It's after the visit, he said Florida really gave him a lot to think about. So I think it's one that the Gators are definitely in, although I'm pretty sure he's supposed to take an OV to Tennessee next week.
That is correct.
Yeah. So he's supposed to take an official to Tennessee next week. I mean, I don't know how the tight end board, so I think we're going to get Hezi Kent, who commits July 12th. You already have Kakua Amua. Snead is more of a receiving threat than Kent and Amua are, but I'm interested to see what happens here because I don't really know. I don't think we land him, though.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got to say, like, with the other guys and him being a Nashville kid, and obviously what kind of Heupel's reputation as an offensive coach and with the passing game, it kind of seems like a stretch here. And obviously Florida's still pushing for Caden Prothro, making some moves at this position across the board. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you made a really strong impression, but I would say with it being followed up with a Tennessee visit, I don't feel particularly good about this one.
No. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at there. It's just like taking the Tennessee visit next week. I don't see it. Next, we're looking at Chris Booker, 4-star interior offensive lineman out of Atlanta, Georgia, committed to Alabama. I heard the staff really likes him. He's committed to Bama, though. It's going to be tough to flip him. They like him as their center prospect in this class. Blaise Tomasi ended up committing to Stanford, I believe, last week on a visit, who was a guy they weren't ready to take because they wanted to keep looking, which I think is going to end up paying off. But I think it's someone to keep an eye on later down the line. I don't think he's going to end up flipping, but it's going to be one we're going to be talking about in November as, hey, Florida's really trying to push him. Maybe he takes some visits and goes to some games, and it really gets him thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida's on this one, but I would just say, and we'll kind of get into it with a couple of these other guys here, but I think there's other guys at the position. I would say that it seems like Florida is maybe more likely to land.
Yeah. And the next guy right here, Desmond Green, 4-star interior offensive lineman out of St. Stephen, South Carolina, 390th ranked player in the composite, 6'4.5", 354 pounds. That's actually really interesting. Chris Booker is 6'4", 285. Desmond Green is 6'4.5", 354.
Yeah.
Has 70 pounds on Chris Booker.
Yeah.
So he's got some weight on him there. I know the staff is really high on Desmond Green. He was seen going into the visit a heavy Georgia lean. He had a crystal ball to go to Georgia from the 2nd of this month, June 2nd. So Georgia really likes him. They also really want him. He has a crystal ball there. But the talk out of this visit is Florida really nailed it. Now, he declined to do interviews after, which can sometimes mean hey, I'm going to end up committing there soon, so I don't want to give it away. You want to be a bit more of a surprise. Maybe he was just in a rush. It could mean nothing, but I know he was around Will Griffin a lot. Will Griffin was recruiting him heavily, and it's hard to say that I think we can land him without him actually doing those interviews and, maybe him naming Florida neck and neck or first with Georgia or anything like that. So I don't know, but I think it's someone to keep an eye on as a potential steal from, we could steal him from Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's just, it's is he a take for Georgia? If he's a take, he's going to Georgia. I think there's more nuance to this situation than that. But I would say it's kind of, I think Florida probably is more. I mean, would you agree Florida's probably more in this one than they are for Chris Booker?
I agree.
Perspective. Yeah.
Way more.
Yeah.
And I think Booker, if we get Green, I have a hard time seeing Booker in this class, actually.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, because you're looking at kind of a big offensive line class, potentially.
Yeah. Next, Tyler Chaku out of Douglasville, Georgia. So this is a real interesting player right here. He commits tomorrow. On the composite, he's unranked. However, On3's own ranking have him as a 4-star. 247's rankings have him as a high 3-star, an 89 grade. A 90 would be a 4-star, so he's right there. But then Rivals and ESPN have him as an unranked player. So it's really interesting there. So he's unranked in the composite, commits tomorrow. We already got a bunch of projections in to get Tyler Chaku. So with those in mind, I think we end up landing him. I'm interested to see where Rivals and ESPN rank him because one site has him as a 4-star, another has him as a high 3-star. So he's someone I could definitely see end up being ranked as a 4-star in the composite within the month even.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Florida's in good shape here to get him, and just another guy that not necessarily the highest rank at the moment by the services, but kind of a guy that you can see the potential with, and a guy that you can see pretty easily moving up those rankings throughout his senior season. So, I mean, obviously we'll have to see if it is ultimately Florida when he commits tomorrow. But I think Gators are in a good spot here, and going to be one piece of a pretty, we'll see how highly rated they all end up being, but I think going to be an offensive line class that the staff feels really good about, whether they're rated highly or not.
Yeah, so the question here, is he a tackle? Is he a guard? He's 6'6", 290, so he has good size of that 6'6" frame. 290, you're going to put weight on when you get here anyway, so that doesn't really matter at this point. But, maybe, I don't know what they like him at. Something I'm noticing about this class is a lot of the players are looking at, there's like, take now, worry about the numbers later, which is something that has really came back to bite them in the butt when they weren't doing that in previous cycles, where it's like, oh, well, we have this guy a bit higher on our board, but you want to commit now. And it's like, well, we want to wait. And then that player ends up, you miss on that top player. And then the other player ends up just committing to like a South Carolina and they hold them. So it's like, you can see a difference this year. Like if you're taking Chaku, and if you're getting, you're probably getting Javari Lucas as well tomorrow. And then you're still looking at Claude Impuma, who is the higher ranked guy. You're looking at this offensive line class, 3 possible tackles, because you already have Chancellor Campbell, who they really like. Many people think he could end up being a 4-star prospect. And then say you get Claude Impuma, who's also like, those 2 are clear tackles. Like they aren't going to play guard. And then you have Tyler Chaku and Javari Lucas, who might be more flexes. But then you have Janari Carr, who's a clear interior offensive lineman. And say you get Desmond Green, who's also an interior. You're looking at a 6-player offensive line class with 3 or 4 guards, and again 3 or 4 tackles, and again 3 or 4 guards. Like I like the flexibility they're getting, and it's not like they're getting the lowest ranked guys either. Again, Impuma is 169. Campbell is someone we see having like a pretty easy chance to rise up the rankings, and Chaku, it's wait and see because he's unranked on the composite, so we don't really know. Green's a 4-star if we end up landing him. Lucas, the lowest ranked guy of all of them. So it's really interesting what they're doing here with the offensive line.
Yeah, it makes sense too with all they're set to lose after this season. You kind of need to get that development cycle get going again, because you're going to have, I think you're going to have options, but you're going to have pretty limited experience along the offensive line after this season. So it's pretty clear they see retooling along the offensive line as a priority, and it's hard to, disagree with that. Also, JJ Spawn just won the U.S. Open, just by the way, to anyone who cares.
Congratulations, Spawn. A quick little update on Henderson. Apparently there isn't too much buzz for Texas for Henderson. Official visit can change everything, but I feel like it's scary of Texas, but I think they have some other edges on their board that they're probably closer to landing than Henderson. And so it might just be not worth it to make a big push for him. Florida apparently also putting a lot of pressure and have a pretty good NIL package for him. So that's something real interesting to keep a look at. All right, we will be back after this message.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Welcome back to the show. We got a good question here from Rob S. in the comments after the recruiting update. How are we looking for Vodney Cleveland? So after his official visit, he named us his leader before his official visit, like a month before. And it's not too much had come out. But then after his visit, he still says Florida's first. He plans to commit within the next week. That's what he said after his visit here. Florida, the clear leader. We actually got a crystal ball for him on Friday from 247's Tyler Harden. So he took his visit to Texas this week, who was always the main threat for us. If he doesn't commit this week, then it definitely gets interesting. But if he does commit this week, I think we're looking pretty good for him. I know Texas thinks they had a pretty good visit. Again, it's Texas. They're going to have a good visit as well. Did you see they always have the Lambos out for these kids and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, obviously they're going to roll out the red carpet. I think it kind of seems to me like if I don't see a wave of, crystal balls, projecting, a change in projections or whatever, I think Florida has the momentum here. I think the question is, did that hold through this weekend? I mean, who knows? But I don't think I've seen anything. I mean, have you seen anything that would lead you to like definitively say it seems like it has?
I have not yet, but like I heard Texas got some confidence, but nothing like crazy. So I like where we stand.
Gotcha.
I'm just hoping to see it pay off within the next week, because then it's like, I think Bodney Cleveland's also another one of those guys who finishes inside the top 100. Already 247 has like the top 50-ish area. Like, we need Bodney Cleveland. I mean, especially with all the news that happened with Valden Stone. He ended up going to Nebraska, didn't even go to Georgia this weekend. But you seemingly go from like the heavy leader for Stone you're probably not even getting an official visit until like if he decides to even wait until after the season. So Cleveland's gonna be a real priority. Landing McCoy helps with Cleveland too. So hopefully, maybe, because something I forgot to mention, I planned on mentioning, they have the barbecue this weekend. Big time barbecue. Like this used to be the Friday Night Lights, but that died down a lot from having like Jerry Jeudy and those 5-star receivers that would come out and ball out to it just really being like 2027 kids, or next class kids and some lower ranked guys, and it died down a lot from its peak. So it's now just a barbecue. Does Vodney that's right. He has a visit for Miami scheduled for next weekend, although he said he planned to commit within the week. So I feel like that visit might just be canceled. And I wouldn't be mind if he ends up coming down to Florida for that barbecue. And yeah, I mean, it's listed on 3, but maybe he commits this weekend at Florida for that barbecue. I think that'd be like one of the better cases that could happen for us with him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if that Miami visit gets canceled, that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, I don't really see Miami as a legitimate threat in this recruitment, so he might just go ahead and cancel it.
Yeah.
So he's from Parker or Birmingham. Isn't that like a pretty good school as well? Like a really good school? I feel like they had a couple like 5 stars.
Very possible. Maybe. I honestly don't remember that specifically. It's very possible they do, but I'm not sure.
Here, let me the player I'm thinking of. Let me check if this was him. Oh no, Carver Montgomery. Okay, I feel like I've heard about it before, but I mean they went undefeated that's this year. Whoops. I don't know. We'll move on from that. We'll get into the final part of this show we got here. Where's it at? Post-spring linebacker preview. Last week we did the defensive line. We were pretty high on it. You know, some depth concerns specifically at the nose tackle spot and defensive tackle a little bit. I mean, Caleb Banks is such a good player. You can't really rate him too low. But now here, I closed the tab. We get to the linebacker position, maybe the most talented position besides like wide receiver, maybe that Florida has on the roster. Should we start with the edge rushers or should we start with the interior? What do you think?
Let's start with edge because it kind of bridges the gap from what we talked about last week.
Yeah, I agree there. So I'm pretty sure I'm pretty confident George Gums is going to end up starting at that jack/edge position there. Yeah. 6'4", 253 pounds, redshirt senior, had 5 sacks last year. I mean, 2 years ago, you had a player who was like a 2-star recruit wide receiver to Northern Illinois. And now you're looking at someone after playing off-ball linebacker 1 season at Northern Illinois, comes to Florida, plays that Sam position, plays really, really well for us, and is also really good off the edge. You lose Pyburn, you lose Searcy. You're expecting Gums to be a better pass rusher for you this year, and hopefully someone that takes another step. I really like Gums here, but you cannot count out LJ McCray.
Yeah.
267 pounds, a behemoth of a man who was a former 5-star recruit. 3 of the 4 recruiting services had him as a top 10 player. I mean, you're hoping with the amount you're paying LJ McCray, I mean, you're probably paying him a lot of money. I don't know the details there, but you got him over Miami, Georgia, Alabama, and FSU when they were still good. Like, you got him over some top schools. So you probably paid him a good amount of money. So you're hoping that you really see that come out in his second year because he's probably one of the higher paid players on your roster. You cannot have him playing 2 years with no production.
Yeah, I mean, outside of DJ Lagway, he's the signature signee of the Billy Napier era. And I mean, like, I think Yeah, you look at it like Gums, I think we both really like. I think, Gums, I think, has the potential to have an even better pass rushing season. I think his versatility and ability to play off the ball, like you said, really makes him an intriguing player. But like McCray's going to play. McCray's going to have a role and make an impact on this team. I think the question is just how much. And I think that depends on him. Like if he's already at the level that we kind of expect him to be, then he'll probably be playing, serious snaps by the end of the season. If not, maybe he's more just a rotational guy. But like either way, you got to feel pretty good about the depth here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at TJ Searcy and Jack Pyburn split snaps pretty evenly last season. So if you're doing that between Gums and McCray, I mean, you're probably talking about two really good jacks or edge rushers for us. I mean, McCray a bit bigger, probably. I mean, I don't want to say more physical, actually, no, because George Gums a bit shorter, but also has some good weight on him. But like McCray is just that type of freak athlete that you need to develop, and you need him to be an impact player on this team. A real game changer. To go along Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks, who are also game changers.
Yeah, he needs to take that step this year. I mean, I think we saw him play a little bit. We didn't necessarily see a ton of flashes of like dominance. But there were some solid moments. But yeah, I think this is the year where you really got to see that leap happen. Because he's, like I said, he's the signature non-quarterback recruit of the Billy Napier
era. And the third string at edge right here, Rob. I got inside sources. Jaden Woods. Woods is him. I mean, I've been high on Jaden Woods as well since we landed him flipped him from Penn State. 6'3", 240 out of Shawnee, Kansas. We heard a lot of good stuff about him from the spring practice. I mean, the problem is he's going to be, I mean, it's not even a problem. It's a good problem to have. He's going to be behind two guys that we think could be really, really good players. I mean, next year, you're probably talking about him going into that LJ McCray role, being the backup, splitting time with the starter there with McCray, or maybe even coming off the other edge on obvious passing down. So I really like Jaden Woods, and I think he could end up feasting like in those early games against Long Island and USF.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get the feeling that he's going to be like a redshirt player this year necessarily. I think they're going to work him in if he's ready. I mean, obviously if he's as good as it seems like we're kind of hearing he is, maybe kind of in a similar role to LJ last year, where he's not necessarily playing like super significant snaps, but you're getting him in there, getting him some work,
I think he also has a bit more finesse than you're going to get from George Gums and LJ McCray, which could provide a different type of pass rush. I mean, depending on the type of right tackles you're going against. So I think that's something that could also we need to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got nice versatility. Like between those three guys, they all kind of bring a different skill set to the table.
Yep. All right. So now we'll go to the linebacker position. We're going to count Sam and the two linebackers. I think they just have the two starters at linebacker listed as linebacker. I don't think they have any particular different names for them. So the guy that I think we're both completely confident in starting is going to be Grayson Putt-Howard, going into his junior year, 6'4", 232 pounds out of Jacksonville. Last year, before his injury, he was probably our most consistent linebacker on the roster. Played really well, played a good bit his freshman season at South Carolina as well. So I'm excited to hopefully get a full healthy year from him this season.
Yeah, I mean, he showed a lot of promise, and I think it says a lot about him that he's kind of held on to this just presumed number one guy at linebacker role with the competition he's facing, because I think it's a room, like we've talked about, is very talented. We really believe in a lot of these guys. Think they're really high ceiling, high potential. He's continuing to stand out. Like I think he's going to be a centerpiece of your defense if he's not dealing with injuries again this season.
Yep. So now we get the interesting part here. Who's going to be the backup? Or, I mean, who's going to be a starter? Who's going to be the backup? The two names you're looking at are Miles Graham, the former top 50 recruit, obviously the son of Ernest Graham, Gator legend. He played good minutes last year. I forget that he transferred to Buchholz for his senior year of high school. He was from Georgia, I remember, but I forget they transferred there. But just under 6'1", 227, second year here, played a good bit, showed that athleticism, showed that high potential. that Myles Graham has that we don't see of the too many linebackers. We haven't really seen that linebacker in a while. I mean, Shamar James didn't end up being like the highest ceiling guy. He was a good linebacker here, but not like a takeover game linebacker that I think Myles Graham could be. But you also have Jaden Robinson, who's 6 foot 232 out of Lake City in his third year here, who's played starting minutes last year. His freshman year, due to injuries, he also had to play a good amount of minutes his freshman season. So Robinson, who was top 5 in tackles on the team last year, who are you going to go with? Are you going to go with the veteran who's a really good linebacker in Jaden Robinson, or do you go with the high upside in Myles Graham that could really add another element to this team that I don't think we really have at linebacker?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough call because Myles Graham really added a lot toward the end of last season. I think we saw some really nice glimpses there. But I mean, Jaden Robinson was, I think we talked about this last week. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that he was my underrated player of the year or something.
It was something
like
around there.
Yeah. So I mean, he was a guy who really was kind of an unsung hero at a lot of points in last year's team. Sort of just coming in as a rotational guy for a lot of the season, but made an impact when he was on the field. So it's tough. I mean, I probably would say that if I had to bet that it's going to be Myles Graham. I mean, I think the talent is undeniable. He's the future of the position. So it's hard for me to imagine you're going to keep him off the field, but the depth at this position, I mean, like I said earlier when we were talking about, where can you afford an injury on defense? Not that you want one, but this linebacker room, man, they've got some depth.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. The depth is just phenomenal there. And then after them, you're still looking at good depth. Aaron Childs going into his second year, another top 100 recruit who is just a physical specimen. Like coming into his freshman season, he was already built like a senior. He is currently listed at 6'2.5", 241 pounds out of Maryland. I was talking recently to some other people about this. When he visited and committed, it was like we had 4 players commit at Spurrier's, and it was him, Amaris Williams, Jamonta Waller, and Nasir Johnson. The other 3 end up flipping, but you still got Childs from that. So great success, to quote Sacha Baron Cohen there. But he's going to be, you're hoping he takes another step. But again, you're rotating these linebackers. And you have other great ones that even if he maybe struggles a little bit early on, or maybe he is struggling, it's like you're probably going to be able to mask that with other great linebackers and maybe not having to play him as much.
Yeah, I mean, I expect that all 4 of these guys are going to play to some extent. I mean, Childs kind of gets overshadowed because of Myles Graham, just being the recruit he was, the flashes he showed, him being a legacy. But Childs had his own moments too last year and was promising. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a testament to the depth you have here, not even to mention the true freshman Ty Jackson, who they seem to like a lot. We'll see if he's ready to make an impact. But yeah, I mean, you've got so many options here at linebacker and so many high level, not just guys that I think can serviceably play, but guys that I think can truly be game changers. I mean, I think all 4 of these top linebackers have shown at different points that they can be game changing players.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Ty Jackson. I've said it many times. Billy Napier always said that Ty Jackson's junior film was the best he'd ever seen. So out of Fort Lauderdale, listed at 6'1.5", 216, definitely needs to put some weight on, but for his athleticism, that's something that's probably similar to Myles Graham, is something that's you can't really teach. That can really bring that high level there. Another name, I asked you earlier before the show if there's any linebackers not on there, and there is one. Miles Johnson. Yeah, Miles Johnson, 3-star from Brewton, Alabama. He's not on the roster yet. He wasn't here during the spring, but I know they really like his speed and quickness. I don't expect him to play at all. I mean, maybe you can get in some 4 games and still redshirt, but I expect him to take a redshirt this year. They like his speed and athleticism, maybe not the most physical guy, like someone that maybe if he was a little bit lighter would have been a safety, but a bit bigger, so he's going to play linebacker. I mean, they like him, so they decided to take him, which a linebacker they didn't have to do because that's how stacked that position is. So I'm going to trust them and their evals there, but I mean, we're really excited about this linebacker room.
Yeah, Miles Johnson almost certainly heading. Oh, sorry, I was just saying. Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. I was saying he's going to head for a red shirt, but like it's nice to see, even with all these young guys, they're still adding guys that they're developing.
So, what would you? Should we grade it just linebackers and just edge, or should we grade it all together?
I kind of think there's not enough to do it separately. I kind of think we should just do it all together. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I agree there. I'll go first here. So. Okay. I think you're looking at top end proven talent. It's not there yet. So it's like when you look at the depth and the players, stars and everything like that, it's like that's an A+ maybe. But then you look at, okay, you know, Pup played a lot last year and was good when he played, but he had that injury. And then after him, I mean, Robinson's a solid starter, like a B starter. So it's not like he's some proven great player. And it's like you're expecting Graham and Childs to take that jump. And same thing at the edge, like Gums is a good edge. I mean, played more Sam last year. So it's like, do we expect him to be a right away impact Jack? And it's like McCray we're expecting because of his status, and we really like Wood. So it's like, if all the players play to their talent and what we think they could be, this could be an A+. But I think you have to factor in proven production into it. And it's like, I mean, that's what everything is, like production. So I'll go A-.
Wow. Okay, so I am very rarely higher on these grades than you are, but here I actually am. I'm at an A, just a flat A. I don't really see the weakness here. Like I think I see your point. Like, is there the proven elite talent? Maybe not. But I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to argue that all these linebacker positions, like this is the best 2 deep on the team. Anywhere except like maybe running back. Like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's another position where you could say, I mean, I think all of these positions I feel pretty good about going 2 deep. So I think that says a lot. And I think I'm just willing to bank on the fact that like Pup Howard will take another step with a full season if he's healthy. I'm willing to bank on the fact that Miles Graham does have like an all SEC ceiling with what we saw last season. Maybe not all SEC this year, but eventually he's only a sophomore. So, and I think between Gums and McCray, I think you're going to get some really good pass rush play between the two of those guys. So like, yeah, I think it's strong enough across the board with so few weaknesses that even without the super high level talent, I still feel comfortable going with an A.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. It's maybe the first time you're higher than I am on a specific grading there. So, yeah. And the great thing is, after this year, you're probably only losing Pup Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, you might not even lose Pup Howard. I mean, he's only a junior. What am I saying?
Yeah, I mean it depends on how NFL. This room? Yeah,
like Jada Robinson,
you lose Gums.
Gums. So you lose one edge, but then you're looking at who you're bringing in. I mean, we talked about it earlier. You're probably gonna get Malik Morris. And then it's like, who's going to be the other linebacker? DQ Forkbutt isn't going to be Isaiah Williams. So you're getting either a 4 or 5-star guy even then to back him up to come in. So it's like, this linebacker room looks good for this year, for next year, and for a time to come. So I think this is a real interesting comment from Rob. I just don't like our scheme when it comes to pass rush. Hopefully they change some things up. We were second in the SEC in sacks per game last year. I mean, we were second in total sacks because Texas played more games than us, but in sacks per game, we were only behind South Carolina, I think. I don't know what else you want to see. I mean, consistency, because we had most of those sacks in the final month of the season, but like, I don't know what else you would want to see from the defense.
Also, I don't think we necessarily had a lot of elite pass rushers in those spots last year. I mean, like Pyburn, we've talked about, like Pyburn and Cersei are not like elite pass rushers, and they were playing pretty significant snaps. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and evaluate, like I'm not an expert on pass rush scheme, but I mean, I don't think it's like a limiting factor.
I mean, LSU had one of the best offensive lines, pass blocking offensive lines in the country last year. Again, like it came at the end. We even had 4, I think, against Ole Miss. So Jackson Dort, mobile QB, and we had a couple on Ty Thompson. Like we had 19 sacks in those last 4 games, but it's like they were still second in this country. I mean, in the SEC. So it's not even like they just had a good month and it's like finished fifth. Like they finished second in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what else you want. I mean, again, you lose Pybert and Searcy, and you're replacing them with Gums and McRae, who in theory should be way better. I mean, they are better than Jack Pybert at pass rushing. I mean, I think Searcy is a bit underrated as a pass rusher. I mean, rewatching it, he looked pretty decent there. I mean, I think Gums is going to be better and McRae should be better as well. But you're going to get more off the edge than you did last year. It's like, if you just get that consistent play, I mean, probably leading the SEC in sacks.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the whole defense improved too last year. The pass rush, Cam Ward had an hour in the pocket in that first game.
Yeah.
But the whole unit struggled in that game. But I think the way they were playing the back half of the year, I think, I mean, look, if we get whatever pass rush scheme limitations there are, if we get the level of play from the defense we got the last month of the year last year, I don't think Florida's going to have a lot of problems in the pass rushing department.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, and it's like, who are the QBs you're playing? Are they mobile? I mean, Garrett Nussmeier isn't mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Beck isn't mobile, really. I mean, Arch is.
You got Byron Brown, bro. Byron Brown. It's happening this time.
Yeah, it's going to happen this time. I mean, Marcel Reed's going to be. Shapen isn't, and he's now a horrible offensive line. Mm-hmm. Gunnar Stockton seems pretty mobile. I do worry about their offensive line, though, so that's going to be interesting. Austin Simmons is going to be more of a pocket pass. I don't know. I think
Arch can move. Mobile. Yeah, Arch.
Oh, yeah, I said Arch is.
Sorry. I missed you said Arch. My bad.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what you get from Austin Simmons mobility-wise. Mm-hmm. And then, Joey Aguilar, I mean, I don't really know what we're going to get from him in the SEC. If he's even going to be the QB by that point, is it going to be him or is it going to be McIntyre or Merklinger? I don't think any of them are insanely mobile.
Zach Calzada for Kentucky can't really move.
Calzada's can move. Calzada's a wild mover. He makes interesting plays. I don't know how to put it.
Yeah.
He could get out of the that.
Are you there? I lost you, Tyler, if you're still talking.
Oh, I was. I don't know if it was me or if it was you.
I don't know either, but I didn't hear most of what you just said there.
Again, it's I don't know what else you want more from this. I mean, you're hoping that your edge and Gums and McRae that okay, let's just end the stream here. All right, I think we're starting to lose it, but let's just wrap this up before we crash and everything just gets lost. Okay. No, I think you're just gonna have to wrap it up. I'm sorry.
Are we still live?
Okay, we're good now. Yep. I'm gonna have to wrap it up real quick.
Good now
because you can't end it. I don't think.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. Hopefully more commitments. There will be Monday. We'll probably try to combine Lucas and Chuck Elam's commitments into one video and see if we can get that out Monday, Tuesday, or whenever. But we will see you guys next week. I didn't even check how many days are until the college football season. I forgot this time. But we're going to have to end it there. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. We'll see you next time. And as always, go Gators.